right, hey everyone, welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks. This Monday evening, we've rolled the calendar forward into March, and we're going to talk about not only the March forecast, but a little review here at the start of this video of meteorological winter. And if you've been following me on social media or watching these videos, no surprise, we finished in the top 10, in fact, a tie for 6th place on the list of warmest winters, winter being December, January, February, on record, tied with 2016-17, 2011-12, and just a shade behind 2001-2002. Boy, lots of recent years on this list. That is for sure. And this was a winter that was supposed to be a little bit, or even quite a bit colder than it actually ended up being. At some point this week, I'll probably do a blog post about the winter forecast, what went wrong with it, what lessons can be learned, things like that. A lot of humble pie being eaten out there by a lot of meteorologists. So when it comes to this winter's forecasts, my forecast stunk, and I was not alone. I did not see a single forecast that was even remotely correct for the winter season in the U.S. And, you know, it was warm around here, and I'll talk about this some in the blog post, I'm sure, but parts of Europe and Asia essentially did not have a winter at all. I mean, like Moscow, if you thought it was way above average here, I mean, the numbers are incredible in Moscow and Russia and other parts of Europe and Asia. Just an incredible pattern across the northern hemisphere in winter. All right, going along with those warm temperatures, a lack of snow for the second consecutive season. At the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna, 42.7 is the number so far this season. That is 7 inches below average through today's date. It's actually a little bit more than we had last year at this time. Last year through the second day of March, we had 39.3. We finished with something last year like 44, I think. That's probably about what we'll finish at this year. I don't see many opportunities for accumulating snow as we go through the final stages of the snow season here across our region. No snow today. It's been light rain and drizzle and some localized rain gauge amounts. A couple of tenths of an inch here and there. Nothing to write home about. No big deal at all. It's one of those evenings where the radar's a little bit deceptive. Some mist and drizzle is lurking out there, even though the radar that I'm showing you here, or maybe that you're pulling up on your app, it may be pretty quiet. But, you know, the radar beam is overshooting a lot of this low cloudiness with some mist and drizzle. This is going to be a possibility tonight, especially before midnight. It is not very cold outside, though. Temperatures, of course, rebounded beautifully Sunday afternoon after a cold start. It was a great afternoon. Today was not a very good-looking day, but it was warmer than average, and we're hanging on to the mid-40s here locally this evening. 50 in State College, 50 in Detroit, and 49 in Columbus this evening. It's going to stay pretty mild for another few days. Tornado watch actually out across the lower Ohio Valley, the mid-Mississippi Valley as well, and we're heading into the time of year, of course, in which the threat for severe weather will start ramping up in parts of the country as we get into March and April. Back here at home, I think the timing on tomorrow's rain is actually fairly similar to today. There could be some mist and drizzle early on, but the most consistently wet part of the day, probably right around lunchtime into the early afternoon for our Tuesday, and showers will linger here and there into Tuesday evening. Wednesday starts with some sun, clouds roll in quickly by midday, and I think some chilly rain showers will occur into the afternoon on Wednesday, maybe even a few wet snowflakes trying to mix in at the onset of this, especially north of Interstate 80. Nothing impactful. We're going to squeeze in a beautiful day coming up on Thursday before this front and its associated area of low pressure moves in for Friday and strengthens rapidly. That will lead to a blustery and unsettled end to the week on Friday with some rain and some snow showers. The cool down that's coming at the end of the week is brief. It's just 2 days. And the timing on this is actually fairly similar to the pattern we've been in lately. February was characterized by chilly ends of the work week and then warmer weather from the second half of the weekend into the first part of the work week, and that pattern continues. This cool down will be followed by a nice rebound by Sunday and Monday. Much like yesterday, I think we've got a great Sunday coming up at the end of this weekend with sunshine and temperatures in the lower 50s. All right, in case you missed my discussion about the March trends late last week, here's a look at what we're focusing on this March. Now, 6 of the last 7 Marches have been cooler than average. March has been our most consistently cooler than average month out of any month of the year in recent years. But we're going to buck that trend this year. March is very likely to be warmer than average here in 2020, and precipitation may end up above average as well. Look at the bullseye in the March outlook across a large chunk of the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, the Great Lakes. Temperatures compared to average, almost a lead pipe cinch to be warmer than average when we run all the numbers at the end of the month. And this, this outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, and I talked about this last week on this video. This is completely the opposite of their initial March outlook put out about 10 days or 12 days ago. Now listen, I'm not casting aspersions here on the Climate Prediction Center. Long-range forecasting is hard, and I didn't disagree that strongly with their initial March outlook, even though I kind of was, I talked about some uneasiness with the cooler than average temperatures they were advertising in this general vicinity. But they've corrected to this map, and I do think this is the right idea for March. It's a continuation of the winter pattern, and again, I see nothing in the data right now to suggest it's an excessively wet month, but pretty active storm track like this means several rounds of precipitation this month, and there's at least decent odds that it ends up being a somewhat wetter than average March. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching Weather for Weather Geeks. We will have another edition of this video, same time, same place, on Tuesday. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast. Have a great Monday night.